number 4. Welcome.
Welcome.
I'm Hooligan number 1. Charlie Hosey.
Says who?
I just wanted to say number 1. Yeah. You caught on that
Fine.
immediately.
I guess for you saying it first, you get to be number 1, and I'm Hooligan number 2, Alex Gomes, and we actually have an exciting podcast to talk about because for the first time this year, we went racing ourselves.
That's right. And that was my first race in well over a year.
Yeah.
What about you?
That's my first race
competitive
since
race.
November. We went to OVRP in New York.
That's right.
For the World Formula stuff.
Yep.
Only a few of us showed up, but we still went out there on November 1st. It was wicked chilly.
Yeah, that seems like a horrible. Did you put on like ice tires, like spikes?
No.
Studded?
No. Nope. It got down to like 40 something in the morning or something like that, or maybe it was even the 30s.
Ugh.
But it was still a good time. It rained.
I'm sure.
I love when it rains and you go racing, and I just showed him when my tire went out in the middle of the summer at OVRP, and then when we went back in November, that was basically my redemption because I came back and won.
Nice. Good for you.
I have all that footage, and I need to make the video, and I think I'll just make it one video. It'll just be like, heartbreak and then redemption at OVRP or something like that.
That's good. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Make it into
But
one
let's
sweet
get
little
to
video.
current
Let's
times.
get to
So,
Canaan again, half track.
yes, Canaan again, half track. It was the first race for the NHKA, the New Hampshire Karting Association. We went to Canaan Motor Club, I think is what they call themselves officially.
Correct.
And it's kind of a small car track, but it makes for a really awesome big go-kart track. And what they actually did for this race in particular was they cut the track in half because there's actually little go-kart bits that go, in the infield to split the track up. So we did the.
You talking about for the kids in the infield there, or
No. The track that we were racing, it's a half track.
right? I thought all of the parts that we were on looked like they were designed also for cars. No.
No, the infield bits, no way. No, the infield
Yeah,
bits
I guess
are,
you're right. That
they're
would
too
be,
skinny.
That'd be tough. Maybe in a Miata.
Be fun. So yeah, we did that version of the track where it was if you know the track, it's turns 1, 2, and then there's like that slight left and right, which I guess you would call 3 and 4, and then after that you don't do the backstretch, you actually cut in, and there's a go-kart bit. That's I like it. It's actually a really fun track, and it's quite challenging when you go inside. It's not really like we've talked about this a few times. I don't think I could pass anybody through there. You have the one hairpin that kind of sets you up for the opportunity, but
I saw it done. I don't know whose video it was watching, but yeah. So definitely in the future, I'll get more aggressive in there if possible. If you can get up on the inside of somebody there, or just even go around the outside. I feel like there's a lot of.
I don't know.
I noticed a lot of drivers, even after 3-4 laps, they are not really making that a nice straight line into that left-hander. The tight left-hander where you go up over the curb. They're kind of hugging the right. And if you're faster than the guy, you're just left then to just putter around, and then you're up his ass up, taking the left and that quick right on the front straight, and then you got to count on being geared right and everything else. Where if you can just set that pass up, let's face it, if you get up to him on the left hand side, turning into that left hander, there's nothing they're going to be able to do.
Well, my fear would be they wouldn't even know you're there.
Yeah, because it's very quick.
It's quick, and it's not quick, but it's just tight. It does come to you.
And the cart's always on edge.
Right, because it's not a straight braking zone into it. You're going around a right-hander. That's going downhill a little bit so that when you get on the brakes, you are still turning to the right to set up for this hairpin that goes to the left.
Yeah, it's true, but...
And you're always aiming for the curbing when you take that left-hander, too. So I could see...
you would never
I could see somebody setting up to the right and then getting over as far as they can and then looking over at that curbing and then, oh my God, there's a cart there. It's too late. You're already spinning around. And I think, as a matter of fact, in one of your races, you got caught behind something that happened.
I was spinning. I had a good day. I ran faster.
Let's go through Charlie Hosey's day. His first ever race.
Yeah, first ever.
In the Hooligan Light Series.
In a World
representing the podcast with the proper class.
Yeah, that's right. Got to start off in the proper class, and I did it justice. Spun during practice 1, spun during practice 2, spun during pre-race or pre-final.
Pre-final, yeah.
Spun during final. But I ran fast. I was, what was it, times? It was like... you
guys are doing low 40s.
Low 42. No, it was low 42s. I know the fast times of the day was like high 49s. 41.9, 41.89, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like a 42.3, 42.2 2.22 or something like that. So it was about 0.4 higher. But anyway, but spinning is it just ruins your race. I found that out real quick.
Well, all right. For you to be, that's your second time in a World Formula ever?
Yeah, so I was definitely very nervous, very skittish. So like during race 1, I don't even know who it was because I'm still getting used to trying to get familiar with who it was. But anyway, they were going into that turn we were just talking about.
Yep.
Early on, I think it was lap 1. They just spun right around, but they didn't. Yeah. They spin. They didn't go off the track as quickly as I would have liked. So essentially, I just locked them up, and then I went spinning by, and I'm pretty sure I saw Rich. Rich, you're always locking eyes with me, man, when I'm spinning. It's really weird. It's like we're dancing on the ballroom or something because you're always looking at me. I'm like, I don't know. So he's staring at me, and I just had the wherewithal, at least every time I spun, to get it off the track safely and keep the motor spinning and not stall.
Yeah, it's good. You never stalled, right?
Yeah, not stall, not hit anything, not getting anyone's way. So it was good, but I mean, it sets you back. Because I think on that, I qualified like 6th or 7th, so I was starting decent, I thought, for that first race.
Absolutely. Out of
20, and I just
22 guys, right?
Yeah, and I just blew it in the first, lap. And then, after that.
People ahead of you blew it, and you just reacted a little bit too strongly to their stance.
Yeah. I think, I'm so nervous to make contact with anyone. So therefore, I'm hard on the brakes to try to avoid it. But I think, keep your head up, take your foot off the gas, don't touch the brake, and avoid. You know what I mean? If you can, because you can always go off track without locking them up. I mean, you could turn and just go off track as long as it's safe to do so. And I'm trying to think on that particular part there, it is kind of tough. I mean, that's a tough corner. There's not a lot of room. It's kind of, you're all jammed up.
Yeah.
So
yeah, everybody just kind of like accordions into each other at that point. I think you still have to get on the brakes. We just have to understand it's rear brakes. Don't slam them. You can probably do a little bit of lockup if you need to do like a little bit of a twist to turn out of the way somewhere, but you do have to understand, don't keep it locked up, and then your rear is just useless, and you just swap sides.
I feel like the problem is it's these wrecks happen for a reason on the first lap. So what happens is it's kind of a snowball effect. I mean, they locked up. Now it's still first lap for me too, and it's just you have no grip yet. And that was also, I had never been on fresh slicks.
It's weird, isn't it?
Really weird. It was like I was so hyped, and then I got out there, and I was like, what the f***? There's no grip.
Yep.
What's going on? You know what I mean? I'm heating them up, doing everything, and it was like 2 laps, 3 laps, 4 laps. The practices go by. I'm looking at my chrom or whatever the hell thing's called, and it's showing me my times. I was much slower than last. Was it 2 weeks before that?
Yeah.
So I was getting really worried. I was like, man, I'm going backwards. And then finally, it wasn't until the racing where that's when I noticed my times dropping significantly from the last time. So I was like, all right, that's good.
Yep.
But, was it Rick Brown took the who won the pre-final in World Formula?
Pre-final was actually Dave Nadeau.
Oh,
which was really cool. Yeah, Dave got the win, I believe, for the pre-final because I was watching you guys.
That's right, because I saw him starting on the final up front on the right.
Correct, so that would be P1
because that would be the optimal position.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, so
that was, and then he had some unfortunate luck in race or the final as well as myself. I saw him got taken out in the very beginning.
I was talking to him afterwards because I saw it happen from afar. I just saw him. He didn't turn to the right to come into the half track. He just kept going straight and then turned around and came back to the. I was like, what the hell was that? And I was talking to him, and he said something like he went in to steer and then his steering was locked. Jeez. Like he couldn't steer. And he's like, I don't know if like a rock got in, to the steering or something like that, or he couldn't. But he said like the steering was locked. He couldn't turn.
That's kind of scary.
It's really unfortunate, and it is strange. And
yeah, I mean, it's a good spot for it to happen though on the track.
Yeah, I know you have a straightaway to.
I mean, there's another mile of track.
Yeah, to bail on. Yeah, but
that's what happened. Oh, okay.
Super
I figured he got taken out in that because if you look at all these, everyone posted on YouTube, there was like 5 or 6 people that got just taken out.
Well,
it looked like bowling is what it looked like. Like right in front of me on the back straight there, taking the right. I thought, everything was going to go smoothly. And then it was 2 people in front of me. And then, yay, I'll join.
Yep.
And that was probably the biggest spin I've had because I was going a lot faster. That right-hander is a lot quicker than, the final left.
That's probably the fastest point of the track going into that braking zone. It's definitely the fastest part of the track. Yeah.
And that really set the rest of that race up because I think
Well, you got to admit you had some fun racing from, like, 15th to the... Where did you end up finishing?
Well, what's funny is 11th, which was, I think, out of 22. The funny part about it is I assumed I came in last.
What?
Yeah, because I spun out, and I'm way in the back, and it's as I was going back through the field, I don't really remember passing anyone. It's so weird.
You did? Oh, hell yeah, you did.
It just happens. It just happens. You know what I mean? You don't... Because I do remember seeing Dave.
Yes.
And I was like, well, that's weird. I'm like, I'm not at the front of the pack, so what happened? You know what I mean? I was thinking that. So I just was having fun with that because I was trying to watch his lines and stuff like that. And I don't know. I'm not. It's funny because everybody, I feel like, gears it differently there, which makes it fun. Everyone's got different power bands all throughout different parts of the track.
Yep.
And you can really see where you're faster and where you're slower. And that's what makes it so much different for me because I'm used to just driving the
rental
drive. Yeah, it's all the
everything
same. Everything's the same. This is like, all right, I'm faster here, so that means I got to get the best placement. But I don't know. I would love to know what Rick Brown and what they were running for gearing because those guys, what was it, Archibald up front?
Ryan Archibald.
Yeah, because they were running considerably quicker than everyone else.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if they were getting more top end or were they going with more grunt? Because
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. If I was racing with you guys this year, maybe I'd have an idea if I was up there running with them. But
yeah, I never once made a effort to tell Arturo to change the gearing because I kept running faster, and it felt I like having power and speed through the turns.
Me too.
Because I never once in the 2 times I've been out there, even in practice, no one's ever just gone by me on the straight.
Right.
So then what's the point, right?
Yeah.
If you're not getting walked on the straight, then why would you? Who cares if I'm banging off the limiter for?
Correct.
Well,
I mean, yeah, when I did World Formula, I think one of the things that was always, advantageous for me is I thought exactly like you're thinking right now, because it is a class where you do abuse the rev limiter, right? Because there's not enough RPMs in the motor to make it so that you can use a whole bunch of RPMs throughout the range and make it work. Because if you're below, I don't know, 3,000, 4,000 RPM, you're still below the clutch bite point. You're not fully... It's not fully biting yet. So the way you have to gear a World Formula is so that it's always staying above that $4,000, whatever it might be, so that you're always at the bite point or above it. Thing is, you only go up to now $7,000. So you only have $3,000 or $4,000 to play with. So in order to stay above that point, you basically gear the kart so that it will hit the rev limiter.
Okay, but here's the thing, and this is why I still think that whatever, I should have asked. I don't know what the gears were on mine, but the setup that is. But I think if you're on the rev limiter through the turns and all throughout the track, I mean, obviously, once again, as long as you're not getting walked everywhere, I think that's optimal because you're at max power all the time.
Yeah, but then you would get walked.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. If you're not getting walked on the 2 long straights, then you've got at least enough gear.
That's kind of what I'm arguing, but I think you're going to a bit of an extreme.
I'm just saying I think it was just right, is what I'm saying. In other words, there was more time to be made in the corners.
Yep.
Sure, if I geared it taller, I could have maybe had more speed on the straights, but I think you're compromising through the corners, and I think that I don't know. It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I would love to next time around do it differently, but
yeah, I mean, give it a shot. Go up a tooth in the rear and see if even more acceleration would do you good. I mean, there's some guys that will go to Canaan, even New Hampshire, even F1. They'll be like, I try to gear it so that at the end of the straight, I'll have a little bit more than you so I can get you going into the first corner. And it's like, all right, I could see where you want to do that, but it's not going to happen.
Right.
It's not.
In
well,
theory,
here's the
it makes
thing.
sense, yeah.
Maybe it would happen, but even if you gear yourself to be faster at the end of the straight,
you're going to be slower everywhere else.
Correct. My gear ratio, which is aimed more towards acceleration, is going to be faster than you on 90% of the track. So what's the purpose of concentrating on one straight when we have to run these weird gear ratios where you smack off the rev limiter and have to stay above clutch bite point?
I agree. And also I think what comes into play is the amount of power for a World Formula is such a sweet spot that you're never overpowering the rear tires for the most part.
I would set my kart up to do it.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I love having a loose kart, so I would just make it so I could actually use the throttle to rotate the rear.
Oh, okay. Well,
I would have fun with it anyway. Maybe it's another part of my...
But I guess what I was just saying is you don't typically have to worry about too much power.
No, you don't have to worry about
formula.
spinning out. It's not really like you're going to get on it and go like, oh,
Right.
and just go right
It's
around.
not like when I saw the shifters coming onto that front straight, they were just like, oh, holy shit.
Yeah, some of them guys drifted out to the outside wall.
That's unbelievable. And that is such a slow, maybe 25 miles an hour right there, maybe less, through that little kink.
Maybe
and then
at
all
that
of a sudden,
apex,
then they're, boom, up to 65 pretty quick. It's, really quick.
yeah.
And there was a wreck there that was pretty scary.
I heard it. I heard it from a distance. I didn't see it happen until I saw it on video.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with who it was. I know it was one of DRT's.
I want to say it was Marcelo, and correct me if I'm wrong, Team DRT. You guys can go in the comments and correct me, but I think it was somebody coming out of that last right-hander spun, and I believe it was Marcelo, came out of that corner as well and thought he was going to miss the spinning guy. Didn't, clipped his rear tire,
sent him into
and then sent him into the wall. And you could see from the video, the right rear of that guy's cart is just like, boom, 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 like the axle's screwed. It's off.
I saw the impact. I mean, he went right through the plastic, false
that's,
wall.
That's
and
why
into
those
the barrier.
plastic barriers are there.
Well, without it, he probably would have been severely injured.
Yeah,
I mean,
because it's just Armco there, and Armco and go-karts don't really work very well.
No. I mean, they don't work well with race cars, as we've seen. But so that was a hell of a time. It was a lot of fun. I'm
glad you got out there and did it, because I've been talking to you for years to buy a car.
I was so nervous.
Come out and do this.
I was, and that's why I think I spun during those situations where I got caught up. But the good part about it was I never once caused anything. I didn't do anything really. Like I was saying, I was really nervous about. I thought I would be doing this the whole time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would give a quick glance, but I didn't bump the wall like somebody else.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second.
But it was overall a great weekend. So I'm looking forward to. I'm gonna do as many as I possibly can.
As you should, because you're freaking good enough for it. If you didn't
so
have
fun.
any spins, right? Let's say you didn't spin in the pre-final, you probably could have gotten a top 5.
Yeah.
And then from that top 5, who knows where you could have gone if you just kept
winning. I'm trying to get
because I was watching you and Dave throughout the race, and you stayed about the same distance away from Dave the entire time. Dave won the pre-finals, so you had that kind of pace to actually be fast. You could have gotten a trophy out of it, dude.
I just want to.
I know it's frustrating, but you have to go through these moments and learn from them in order to finally get those podiums and finally get those wins if they are within your grasp.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's I can't even the excitement. It was just so awesome. But so now that I got that out of the way, it's kind of like, all right, now focused on racecraft. And going faster.
Yep, you do have to learn New Hampshire Motor Speedway.
Yeah, and you got to learn it quickly. You don't get a friggin' day to.
No, we don't have the practice day like we did for Kanan. No, it's just going to be you should watch some videos. I can send you videos.
Yeah. I'll watch the onboard videos. That's changed, though. Like the last time I was there a few years ago, I'm pretty sure they've changed the...
well, there's a new strip of pavement, so there's no longer...
Is that good?
Oh, yes, very good, very good. Remember how we used to go through the bowl, counterclockwise? Yep, it would be a left-hander. And then we would come up the car track and then do like a 180 hairpin to get back to the access roads.
And there was always crashes there.
Yeah, it was. It sucked. It was like a 7-mile-an-hour corner. I bet you it was not even 10 miles an hour. I never liked it. I don't think anybody did. But
I think people just go into it too hot. Is what it looked like. I mean,
oh yeah. They would do what you were doing when you were avoiding a crash, except they were just trying to make a corner and then slap the rears, and all of a sudden, come around.
Yeah.
Nobody liked that corner, as far as I know, but it was what we had to deal with. It's New Hampshire Motor Speedway. They give us the track to race on.
So then what did they change by paving it?
So now instead of doing that hairpin, they paved a new section of pavement to kind of cross over, like it's a 90 right and a 90 left.
Okay, so it's like an S-turn?
Like
a chicane?
It's a very squared type of S, but it's pretty cool. It's actually really cool what they did with it, especially if we do go that direction come 2 weeks. When you're in the braking zone to set up for the new strip of pavement, it has like it's almost like Kanan, where like the first little right-hand kink is not what you're aiming for. It's kind of like there's a second little kink that it's like miss the first apex, hit the second apex to get it. It's really fun. And then with you guys, as soon as you get through there, you can cross the start-finish line and you're on it. You take the left-hander to get onto the access roads there.
Yeah,
it's a good track now. And now because of it, everybody's gear ratios are more extended. Because that hairpin, you used to have to gear for that to just get out of it. Now you don't have to do that. Now we're actually doing higher speeds throughout the course because we don't have to deal with that hairpin.
Yeah, well, like I said, I like the fact that it's at a proper racetrack. There's drifting. There's other cool shit going on.
There'll be other stuff going on.
Yeah, it's fun time.
Let's talk about my race weekend because
let's do it.
Super interesting.
You probably need to lead up to it though because.
Oh yeah, I gotta tell the whole story. Which
I feel bad for you.
I don't. I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot of work.
I don't feel bad for your outcome. You on that, you know.
Yeah, I know. Nobody feels bad about my outcome.
Yeah, no, I just feel bad about your cart that is on its way here on.
Still on a boat in the Atlantic
Santa
Ocean.
Maria
is
coming here, I guess. I don't know. It's taken forever.
Yeah, so basically my situation has been that I ordered a new cart and a new motor before the season started.
I mean, when did you order it?
It was like
November?
End of last year, yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was.
And it must be like just COVID shipping being as shitty as it has been that it's still not here. It's supposed to be here next week. I think May 18th or something like that. It's supposed to be here. But we had a race last Saturday, so obviously it wasn't here yet.
The show goes on.
The show goes on. Well, I made I made some moves to make it happen. So
you had a Frankenstein of a vehicle.
Yeah. Basically, so what I had to do was I had to rent somebody else's cart, right? And I spent the weekend prior going to pick up that cart. It was Ray Leonard's cart. Shout out to Ray for letting me rent the cart. Very much appreciated. Currently,
its value just went up, by the way.
yeah, because I got another trophy.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know how many trophies.
Put a kill on it, a hash mark. I don't know if third place qualifies for that, but
another one down.
Yeah. That's like counting AFC championships. No, you don't do that. But anyway.
Right. So, Ray is currently held up right now because he broke his leg, so he's not driving the thing, which opened up.
Was that a karting accident?
It was a one-wheel accident.
A one wheel?
Yeah, you know those one-wheel things? You stand on either side of the wheel and you lean forward to go that way, lean that back.
Back. Man.
He loves those things. Well, unfortunately.
Isn't that a Segway?
No, it's not a Segway.
Okay.
It actually, it's like a go-kart tire. It's basically the same as a go-kart tire.
But it's electric powered, right?
Electric powered, yep. It's a battery.
Those all are a bad idea. Was that what you were riding that time we were we were biking that day with Ismar, and you all of a sudden are like, "Hey guys, watch this!" And you pull something out of your
that was my.
You pull something out of your trunk, and I just saw you from afar go launching over my car. It looked like from afar, and then into a bush. What the hell were you on?
That was my longboard.
Oh, longboard. Yeah,
I came down the hill way too fast.
So there was 4 wheels on that too.
There was 4 wheels on that. Yes. So anyway, he loves those one-wheel things. Unfortunately, I don't know the specifics, but he had an incident on one that broke his leg recently.
Jesus.
So I think George Varillas told me about him having the cart, available for rent. And the reason I wanted to rent his cart was because he was going to take the motor off of it. Because at the time, my motor was expected to come in the week before the race.
Right.
So at least my motor was going to be in, even though my cart wasn't.
You want to break it in, most importantly.
Most importantly, yeah, I wanted to get it on track. I wanted to kind of try to get familiar with it. If it's going to be my machine that I can rent or my machine that I can run. Even though it's not technically my chassis, that's cool. So when I went to go pick up Ray's cart, he already took his motor off of it, which was cool, and everything that went with it. So I didn't have to worry about like keeping track of his motor or anything like that. I was a little bit concerned because when I was at Ray's shop, we put it on the ground to see if I would fit in it, and I was already assuming the seat's gonna be too big for me. I mean, look at me. Every seat that I've ever sat in that isn't my go-kart's too big for me. I need a size 3 seat.
So you need one of those X1 seat cushions behind you? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, except those aren't readily available at the track.
Oh, there's probably a whole bunch of them over there hanging out.
That's true. R.I.P.
Let's not, yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't fit in the seat. I was like, whatever, I got to deal with it. But he's also over 6 feet tall. So he has the extended front porch on the front of it.
Oh, right.
So I was kind of like, when I was sitting in it.
You were really laid back.
Yeah, stretch out my legs.
Proper Formula One positioning. I think legs above your heart.
No, not
that bad. Okay.
So I was like, whatever. This is the way I'm going to be able to go racing. So this is what I'm doing. So I brought the cart and my trailer to George's shop, so that as soon as my motor came in that week, he could just slap it right on. So I go home for the week, work, whatever. We come Friday, and on Friday my motor comes in, and George is able to put it on the cart. I'm like, all right, sweet. So I'm going to come to your shop after work and pick it up, which I do. And we decided that we would at least put the seat that's going to go in my cart into Ray's cart temporarily, so that I would be sitting in something that fit me. which was awesome. And it's
so you did have your seat.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but it also added a little bit of work that I had to do that Saturday morning because now I have to get the seat ready and mounted. We basically.
But wait, if it was your seat, why were you drilling holes into it? Why did it need that? You would think it would have already had the holes from last year. Right?
No. It's my seat, but it's new.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The seat I have from last year is in my old cart. It's not mine no more. So we get that on there, and he's like, the battery cradle was like at a 45-degree angle like this, and he's like, you're gonna have to figure that out. And I understand why he left it like that because he had to put 4 of those motors onto different carts that day. So I'm not surprised that
he just left it that way for easy.
Yeah, for me to figure out, which understandable. If you're gonna be doing 4 engines in a day and you got to get them all out because the race day is tomorrow, whatever. So we got my seat in there, and then the holes were already drilled to where it was at least going to sit in the mounts. But I still had to drill holes to put my weights on there and figure out the battery. And then I also needed to put a chain guard over the chain.
Oh, yeah.
Which is something I've never done for the 2-stroke motors anyway. For the 4-stroke motors, it's kind of cool. You can get a chain guard that just mounts right to the motor, right above the clutch. And it's kind of simple, but it works. And, it's all these things I'm taking into consideration before race day Saturday. And I'm like, hey, whatever. This is what I'm signed up for to do. So get there Saturday morning. And I'm like, I don't know, 7, 8 deep in the line to get into the track. And I'm sitting there like, every minute that's going by is another minute I'm not working on this thing to get it ready to go. But whatever. Eventually get in, get to my pit spot, set up my easy up, get the cart out there. And the first thing I do is I secure down the seat. I just had to put, nuts on the other ends. It was pretty much it. And put the correct spacers and whatnot. So I got that going. And then my biggest problem, and it's so stupid, and I'm sure anybody else could do it easier than I did, but my biggest hurdle was getting the friggin' chain guard on. And like I said, I've never put one on for a 2-stroke motor.
It's always the simple things.
It doesn't help that I'm under the gun. It's not like I'm at home.
Yeah, I'm actually still just impressed by the fact that you managed to do all this because you got up, first of all, you skipped over that. What time again? Like 4?
I got up at 4:45 to get to the track on time. From a hotel. We're at
the meanwhile, folks, we split a room over at the
Quality Inn.
Quality Inn, which is real quality. And he gets up at 4 a.m. and I'm like, I'll see you in about 3 hours.
The luxuries you get for renting your own, somebody else's cart that you don't have to worry about.
And I thought it was early. When I got up. Jesus.
Yeah.
So, talk about under the gun.
Right.
My God.
So, it was really dumb because they make these plastic chain guards, and it looks like the chain is supposed to, hug the chain, get nice down and close to it.
Yeah,
and
you
then
would think that.
The side of the chain guard has, a little half moon cut out that looks like it's supposed to kind of hug the axle. So, my initial interpretation was, it sits nice and low right over the chain, and that's where it's going to sit. Anytime I tried that, I would get the rear mount to fit. I'm like, all right. And then I would swivel it forward, and then I would try rotating the rear axle, and the chain was just just rubbing along the chain guard. I'm like, well, that's not right. And so I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm getting, pissed. And so I'm like, well, I got to go look at somebody else's car. And I go look.
The chain's lifting, right? As it's spinning a little bit, does it raise a bit?
I bet you at speed, yeah, it's wiggling around enough to hit. But, that wasn't the problem. I went and looked at somebody else's cart, and their chain guard was a good, 3 or 4 inches higher than where the chain sits. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right. So it has to be over it, but it doesn't have to hug it. I'm like, all right, that's fine. So I kind of remount the little brackets that the chain guard's going to mount to, and I get the rear one to make sense again. I'm like, okay, and I swivel it up front, and it looks like, I'm rotating the axle. It's not hitting now. I'm like, all right, cool. But it was just one of those things where I'm under the gun, I'm by myself. It's the first time I've ever mounted one of these things. And the way the Rotax exhaust comes out makes it really awkward for me to get my hand around with a nut and try to put a bolt through. But then the bracket that I'm trying to mount swivels and moves when I'm trying to keep it to sit still. And I'm like, what? I'm trying to get it all going. I bust my knuckles. I bust my knuckle pretty good. And I'm bleeding over the cart, bleeding on the exhaust. And there was... Dude, and then the driver's meeting starts, and it's like, oh my God, the driver's meeting is already starting. I'm not even done yet. I have to run over to the driver's meeting because it's mandatory, and I'm sitting there just like, come on. And Mike is talking and doing his driver's meeting, which he should be doing, but in my head, I'm like, come on, stop. We're all good, right? We can just I don't care about the driver's meeting. I gotta go over there and get things finished. And as soon as the driver's meeting finished, I bolt back to my pit spot. And I'm still struggling with this thing. I'm sure I looked silly as shit. And now I'm getting pissed. I like threw my tools into the ground and I was just shouting at the top of my lungs, like, "Are you
Well, worst case scenario, just don't run it."
Well,
right? I mean,
no, you can't do that because you got to go to tech inspection.
all right.
This is what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to get the thing together enough to pass tech inspection. And I can't do it. And dude, I got real close to quitting. I got real close to quitting. I was just thinking like, I don't have to do this. I can just stop right now, and then I can just watch everybody else race and just have watch everybody else struggle. But I was like, no, you didn't come here. You didn't pay to rent a car. You didn't pay for your entry.
And all the effort.
Right, to just go like, nah, all set. I don't want to do this anymore. No, I came here to do this and race. And I understand it's going to take a little bit more effort than it would my own stuff, but you're here. You have to go out there. And so, the first practice session starts. I'm still fiddle-f***ing with this thing. And I'm like, whatever. This is how it's going to work. I guess I got to use qualifying to break in the motor. That's the other thing. Like, this motor's never even started. I got to start it, run it on the stand a little bit, and then run it under load, although afterwards, I was told by some people you don't even have to really run it under load. You can just automatically go out and fly, which I'm not used to with other motors that I've broken in. Regardless. So I finally get the chain guard to sit on there correctly. It all bolts in. It doesn't touch or rub when I rotate the axle. Cool. Now I still have to figure out the battery cradle that's over at an angle. And it was kind of weird because, like, they make these cradles for go-karts. It shouldn't have not fit. It was kind of weird.
Yeah.
And I'm under the thing. I'm like, why? They make these things for these go-karts. Why isn't it fucking fitting? And I'm like, I'm just getting pissed again. And thankfully, there was these two new guys that were pitted right next to me who were awesome. And they came over and helped me out. And there was the one guy, Mike. He came over and just having his set of eyeballs on it, he's like, look, if you get the rear mount to sit on the chassis, go through it, you get the bolts to go through the holes, that's cool. I know the front one won't go through the correct holes for one of the bolts, but look, if you go through and then you put a washer and a nut, and I'm like, yes, you're a genius, it'll work. So we got it to work. And then now it's like 5 minutes from qualifying. I still don't have my weights on there. I still don't have my transponder on there. And I'm just like, well, I got to break in this motor still, so let's just go out there. It doesn't matter. I'm going to qualify last anyway because I got to run at half speed to break in the motor. So it doesn't matter if I have any of those things on. Just don't classify me. You can disqualify me. I'm starting at the rear. So whatever. I go out, and it's funny. I was told to run it up to 10,000 RPM, bring it back down. Run it up to 10,000 RPM, bring it back down. Well, my Micron wasn't picking up RPMs, and I'm like, great. All right, cool. So another obstacle. I guess I got to guess where 10,000 RPMs is and come back down. Then guess again, then come back down. And that's exactly what I did. I go out there from the back, and I'm just running all alone for like 4 laps, just doing my vague 10,000, back down. Vague
I saw you
10,000.
waving everybody by.
Well, right. Once people started catching me, I was waving people by, trying to stay off the racing line as much as I could to just let people who are trying to put down, a hot lap, get their hot lap in without being, not distracted, but
without being like Nikita Mazepin or whatever.
Right, exactly. Not being
Lewis,
like that guy and getting in the way and impeding people's laps. So I did a pretty good job, and even Lee Kamara, he came up to me afterwards. His initial question was like, "You got a problem going on?" I'm like, "Nah, I was breaking in the motor." He's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you were doing a decent job, passing people by." I'm like, "Oh, I appreciate it." And then I even asked him, I'm like, "Hey, look, I ran it on the stand. I did it just now with the break-in. Do you think I'm all set?" And he's like, yeah, you're all set. You can run it at full speed now. I'm like, yes, all right. I go up on the scale just to figure out how low I am on the weight because I still got to mount my weights. And I was like 20 pounds below. I'm like, that's fine. That's kind of expected. Go to my pit. Now the pressure's kind of off because now we take a lunch break for an hour. Yeah. And it wasn't even from when I got off the track. It's a lunch break from the last class to the
It seemed like a long
class.
lunch break. I think we were doing well on time.
Yeah, we were doing
the
really
morning
well.
went much quicker and everything else.
Yes, yep. So now I can use that hour to, I ate a little bit of something, but I was using it really to get my weights mounted, which is kind of an awkward process to do by yourself. But thankfully, the two guys next to me, it was Kevin, who was the driver, and then Mike, his
so
his
funny.
pit
You
guy.
said you're using diving weights. Why don't they have like ones made for karting seats that just bolt on a lot more simple?
I think because the diving weights just work well enough that's what's used universally, as far as I know. Yeah, they're just lead weights that just happen to be diving weights as well. We do have to do some specific things to them to make them work for go-karts. I don't know if you noticed, like the 10-pound weights will have like a slot in them. and they still want you to drill holes through the middle of them and then do bolts through the holes instead of the slots, just because they can still move and vibrate.
They want you need 2 attachment points to help
Yes, yeah, 2 bolts through a 10-pounder and then 1 bolt through a 5-pounder. Double nut at least the bolts on the 10-pounders, and I double nut the ones in the 5-pounders too.
Has anyone ever come off? Have you seen one on the track?
I am guilty of losing a weight.
Really?
And unfortunately took out Jim Janelle's floor pan.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
So what happened when you hit that? Did you just go right over it and it kind of was like dragging it?
Well, the floor pan, they're kind of soft. It just bent it all up, but it also like bent up one of his little stub axles there. I was like, and then Mike Kamara was at that race, and he's like, you need to, you should have drilled holes through these weights. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. I felt all guilty and shitty, and I go up to Jim, I'm like, I'm sorry, dude, I didn't mean it. You want me to buy you things? And he's like, no, it's okay. And Jim's a good guy. So that was another race. Anyway.
You know what? Why don't they just have little mounting holes right on the chassis, so they're lying lower down?
Yep.
And you would think it would just be an easier solution than mounting it on the seat, because I remember I've sat in some of those seats when you have the little thing sticking through. Like, I'm lucky. I don't need any weights. Well, I'm not lucky. I gained some weight, so I don't have to have any weight. And, you get that little, like, hump. I mean, I know the Bolt has that, like, flattened or that rounded piece to make it a little nicer, but it's still not the most comfortable thing.
I don't feel them when I'm racing. No, it's not the worst thing for me anyway.
I used to get, what do you call those? I would
welts?
Get the bump. Yeah, you had a word for it. What was that? Anyway, it looks like you got punched really hard. You know what I mean?
I get one on my spine on the right side.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
Actually, it's kind of there permanently now, and I went and saw the doctor for it one time. And they were like,
you're morphing into a race car driver.
Yeah, exactly. I got such a screwed up posture, but it is from just sitting like this all the time. And I'm the perfect body for a race car driver now.
Wow.
Take that with a big grain of salt. But
that's just the tequila talking.
Yeah, it might be. So get the weights mounted.
This is not coffee, by the way.
That's not coffee at all. As you can see by the way it's sweating like that. So we get the weights mounted thanks to help from Kevin and Mike.
Yeah, I didn't help, by the way. I would like to add, I came over and I watched, and that was it, really.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, I was like, I actually had no idea the pain and suffering you were going through in the morning. I feel really bad.
Nobody did. I
feel really bad. I mean, I kind of wish I could have came over and helped. I just didn't even.
Well, like with the.
I don't know why. I was being the first time for me, even though I didn't have to do shit.
Yep.
I was still like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I can remember I kept asking you, like, what do I do? Like when I go out, he's like, dude, it's racing. You just do what you know, It's like, but I was, anyway. So sorry about that.
It's no problem. I don't even know. Like when I was doing the chain guard, I think that is a one-man job. I don't know what somebody else would have even done. It's just awkward. Regardless. So I finally get the weights mounted on there, which is great. I put 25 pounds on there, considering I was 20 pounds low. Transponder gets on there, which was easy enough. And so like now I'm like good to go racing. I'm like, this is cool. So now I'm actually ready to go racing.
And this was, so wait, you were ready by the time of the, what is it called? The pre-final? Is that what they call them? Even though it's really a sprint race, it's pre-final? Okay.
Well, pre-final. F1's copying the idea and calling it sprint race.
Well, that's what I actually do like it. I like that. I think it's cool. I do like that setup. I like how
you do a chance.
I like that you qualify sprint race. And then, I don't know how I'm going to like it with Formula One, but for karting, I think it was great. I liked it.
You get more track time. You get 2 races out of it.
No, not even that. But it's like if you botch your timed lap, you have a chance to get out there and don't spin.
Right. Don't do what you did.
And just, get, Well, anyway, get to your, like, because you, So, wait, so now we're into the pre-final.
Pre-final,
okay.
Yes, and I'm starting.
Because actually, this I don't think I saw.
Okay, so I'm starting last place because I was, going slower than anybody out there, which was 18th. So I'm starting 18th place.
That seems like a big grid.
It was
almost many hooligans.
Yeah. It was a pretty good grid. It's actually more than I'm used to seeing for the tag stuff, which was cool to see. A lot of new guys, I think. There's a lot of guys out there I never recognized.
Seemed like a good class, though.
Yeah.
I never really. It seemed very skilled. There wasn't any boneheads.
No boneheads at all. So we come across for the start, and I get like an amazing start. I got on the throttle kind of early, but also kind of half throttled because I didn't want to run in the back of people.
You start in the left lane, right lane?
Left lane. And I like going into turn one, I probably got like 3 or 4 guys on the outside of turn one and then zipped to the inside and got like another 2 guys going into turn two.
Okay, so I did watch this. I remember seeing that.
Yeah, so
it looked like one of those like movies, where people unrealistically pass people. You know what I'm talking
felt like
about.
a video
like Days
game.
of Thunder, where the guys are just
Yeah, exactly.
like Jimmy Broadband, like going through this little video game.
Yep.
But that's real life.
Yeah, it was
you,
awesome. So I work my way up during the pre-final. I just passed people here and there, and then I was riding behind Ivan for a little while, which is another new kid that's racing this year. And I was like catching him and like right behind him by the time the pre-final finished, and we were catching 5th place. So I'm like, this is really cool because I ended up finishing 7th in the pre-final, all the way from 18th to 7th. And I'm thinking like, hell yeah, this is super promising.
Yeah.
I'm driving a cart that's way too tall for me. It's not mine to begin with. The tires on it had already been used for 2 weekends, so they were pretty worn out.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so-
everybody else, for the most part, had new tires.
Yep. So I'm dealing with all these factors, and I picked up, what would you do, 11 positions from 18th to 7th? That's incredible. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, how many laps was that? Not even, was it 12? How many is the
I don't
pre-final?
know. I don't know.
Is it even 12? I don't even know.
No, it's
8
not.
maybe?
It's shorter than, I think it's less than 10.
Jesus.
So
Make it longer. Sorry.
more track time.
Yeah, skip the kids.
Yeah, they
Put
don't.
them on Sunday. Sorry.
No.
That's the tequila talking.
So I thought for a quick second, I'm like, is there a podium that's possible right now? I'm like, nope. Don't even think like that. This is your first ever Rotax race with the NHKA. No, there's no way you're going to get a podium. Then we go out for the final. And I almost had like a repeat. Oh, you know what? I got to mention, I was figuring some things out with this 2-stroke motor as we were driving. There was a few times where I was like coming out of corners kind of half throttle because I was just trying not to get the guy ahead of me. However, I noticed when I was half throttle, I would have a lot of kick. And I'm like, that's interesting because if I came out of corners full throttle, it would bog and just be like, bleh, and I wouldn't have any acceleration. I'm like, that's an interesting trait. And I'm wondering, like, is this my motor failing? Did I not break it in correctly and now it's doing weird shit? But when I came in and talked to like multiple people, I think I was talking to Brad Danoff, and he's like, no, it's kind of rule of thumb, especially when a race starts, to go half throttle when you're at low RPM and then wait like a good 2 seconds before you even full throttle.
Yeah, but can you tune that out? That seems like kind of shit.
I don't know. Maybe you can. It was interesting to deal with. It didn't feel like I wasn't getting full throttle when I was at the half throttle. It felt like all of it was there at half throttle. Really interesting, really weird to deal with. So I get another incredible start following Brad's advice. I get another incredible start from 7th place. Now I'm on the inside row, right? Before turn 1, got 3 dudes instantly. I just pulled out a line and just got by 3 dudes. Almost got the 4th guy to go for 3rd place.
Yeah. So wait, can I add one of the things that's interesting is you do have to be aggressive at the beginning of these starts.
Yep.
Just like in Formula One, because it's the position.
It's not as bad as Formula 1.
No, not as bad, but you're really. It's just a short race. I was surprised how short it really is.
Yeah, they are short. Yep.
It goes by pretty quick. So you're blowing. You're going right by everybody.
Yeah.
Into turn 2, and you're already steaming by. So you went what, 3 or 4 positions?
I got 3 positions going into turn 1. I didn't get anything out of 2, but I think I got like beside 3rd place. But then he took off, and this is a weird thing with my class now, the tag class. You can run multiple. You can run different engines. You don't have to all run the same engine.
There's 2, right?
There's 3 that I know of.
Huh.
There's
What's
probably
the third?
more.
Or well, let's hear.
So there's the Rotax Max Evo, which is what I was driving. You have the Iami X30, which
Isn't that what DRT is running?
I think it was what the DRT guys were running, and then there's a ROK, R-O-K, and I don't know what the difference is with that.
Are these all sealed though? You can't. They're.
I think so. My motor is sealed, and I don't know if that's just a Rotax thing because there are some classes in the country that only run Rotax, like that's just the motor class, and I don't know if you need to have the seal to run that. I don't. Being new to all this, I don't really know what all the rules are yet, but
It's not like you had a chance to dyno yours either, just to see.
No, dude, the first time it ran was on the stand like 2 hours before the final.
Is that a thing though? Do people dyno like a new engine just to see?
Oh yeah, they make dynos for go-kart engines, dude.
That's cool.
George has one at his shop.
Yeah.
So, what was I about to say? So yeah, so 3rd place is catching 2nd place, and I'm running my thing in 4th, and eventually they swap positions, and then I start realizing after a lap or 2, I'm like, I'm catching 3rd.
Right.
Holy shit. And so then eventually I do. And for a good 5 laps,
It was a good race.
Yeah, it was a really great race. I want to say the kid's name was Adam. I'm sorry, dude. I don't remember your last name at the moment, but I never met the kid before the race day. So, Adam, regardless. And I had a great race. And there was a good 4 or 5 laps or so where I would just ride behind him and stay behind him until the last corner. And then coming around the last corner.
Run me through, if you can remember those corners, just run me through those 4 laps, because from my vantage point sitting by, the front straight, it looked like those 3-4 laps, you were trying the same thing. Like you would, so you're going down the front straight, you'd kind of get up on his right side, you'd get one wheel up on him, and then back it out and swing back left, and then get some momentum and make a run into the next one. Into turn 2. And then from there, it seemed like you would get a run on him, but it seemed like he would kind of pull on you getting out of there again.
Right.
And then you were back on his, in his draft again.
Right. So he was running one of those X30 motors, and I was told all day that X30.
Good top end?
Yeah, X30s have the better top end. It's kind of like anybody I was talking to was like, yeah, if you're running a Rotax, you kind of have to realize you're not going to beat the X30s. So I'm like,
good to know just for the future, whatever.
Good to know for the future. I mean, I don't regret my motor purchase because I got it for like a grand off, brand new. But so that's exactly what was happening. I would come out of that last corner and be side by side with him, but then going into turn 1, he'd already kind of pull a gap, and then I would slot in behind him. And I felt like I basically had him in the corners. Like every corner, it seemed like I could enter a bit better.
But he was defending great.
He was defending great. Yep. And it was eventually like 3 or 4 laps later where I pulled the exact same thing, except he didn't have nearly as good of an exit, and I really did. And we went through.
So he made a mistake. You're saying a little bit.
He must have made a small mistake, or at least just didn't have the oomph coming out of the last corner. We go through turn 1 side by side. We're still side by side.
You were on the inside or outside?
I'm on the inside. Yep, took him on the inside.
So you did get on. That's right. Okay.
Yep, and then going into turn 2,
you're set up already.
I just sent it in, and took the racing line, and he fell behind me, and I thought for sure. I'm like, we're at this long backstretch now. He's got that X30. He's going to get me at the end. Didn't. I think I might have seen him dive inside trying it, and I think I held the outside.
Did you cover the inside line on that right-hander?
No,
you didn't. Like you played the fast line. You just said, I'm going to do the racing line.
I think I've discussed this with you before. I kind of prefer to be side-by-side on the outside of a corner rather than being inside. Because I feel like if I'm on the inside of a corner with another dude, which I technically had to do to pass him, you get pinched. And I'm always afraid that I'm going to get pinched, and then when I try to track out, the guy outside of me is not going to...
Oh, yeah, no, I see what you're saying. But on the flip side, you can also get pushed off the track.
Correct. And so I don't know where it's almost like...
I don't know if it makes a difference.
It's no offense to any driver in particular.
No,
but it's just like...
you're both fighting for the racing line.
I don't know if this dude's going to see me or track out at the same rate I'm tracking out when it comes to corner exit. And
So whoa, hold on. So when you're when you're going down that back straight, did he make a look on the inside on the right-hander, and then you were able to close the door from sheer speed and just turning in, or
yes, because he technically pinched himself by staying so far inside that he screwed
he made a 90-degree turn.
Yeah, he made it.
Well, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, he made it a sharper angle radius than you.
Correct. Yep. So he made it sharper than it had to be for him, and I think we might have been side by side for a little bit, but I eventually just cleared out. And like I said, I was pretty quick.
And like you also said earlier, you can. As long as you got the car turned enough, you can skip that apex, the first one, as long as you've got it turned in.
Yeah, you skip the first
The whole key is you don't want to understeer or wash out and not get the car turned. But once that cart's turned, you're good.
Yeah, and especially with the Rotax
motors.
That
curb is so aggressive. I remember clipping it in practice because I forgot how wide it is compared to those rental carts.
Yeah.
And that you do not want to touch those curbs.
No,
not even the littlest bit.
They're way too aggressive. Yeah, hopefully they can fix that for. I mean, maybe it's good
because
it keeps people from going off.
It's almost like bumper bowling.
Well, it's almost like the bumper walls at indoor places. It's kind of like just don't hit them.
Yeah, because they didn't cause a like I hit them a few times, but it didn't cause like a big wreck. Didn't break anything. Didn't even bump the undercarriage. So maybe they are good. Who knows? But anyway. So that's cool. So you fended him off, and then how many laps?
It was probably another 3 or 4. I think it was four laps to go. Maybe.
Well, now Now this is seeming like a movie plot because I feel like this feels like a race of like 100 laps here. I mean,
It felt
Remember,
longer.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing. So we were just saying like it took you 3 or 4 laps to catch him, then pass him, and then it was 3 or 4 laps after it. I mean, but it's funny because it all happened so quick.
Right. And
But yeah, that was a hell of
when I had to ride around, and I did. I held third place, but it
you
felt
walked away.
a little bit. I think
you walked away until you walked into the wall.
Yeah. So one of the laps, I'm doing the classic.
We laughed at you, by the way.
Yeah,
we all chuckled.
Rightfully so. You should. Yeah, absolutely. I was doing the Freddie Fawcett, just like, whoop, whoop, where are they? You know, doing that shit a bunch of times. And eventually, coming out of the last corner one lap, I went like this, looking to my right to see where fourth place was, and then just felt like
he was nowhere to be seen.
I know. I get paranoid. I just look right, and then all of a sudden, dunk, and I'm like, oh shit! And I actually smacked the wall a little bit, and then I could feel for the rest of the race.
You barely touched it.
Yeah, it was enough to make enough noise, and then it was enough to actually bend.
You could have caused a puncture and lost that race.
Absolutely.
Like, you could have been in last.
Yeah, I got away with murder with that shit. Absolutely. And it actually
got really lucky.
Yeah, it actually did affect the ride for the rest of the race because all of a sudden now going down the straight, it was like brrr, like vibrating. I'm like,
it's like going over the curbs the whole time.
Yeah, I'm like, crap, I actually bent something, and I'm thinking like, this isn't my go-kart, and I bent somebody else's shit. But it didn't feel like it really hampered my speed at all. And then I survived another 2 laps. And dude, coming around like that fast right-hander going into the left, in the left hairpin there, I'm getting ecstatic now. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get third place in my first ever 2-stroke race with the NHKA. And I'm just like, come on, baby, come on. I'm talking to myself in the helmet. Come around the last hairpin.
You got to talk.
I come around the last corner. I can see Rich watching me, and he's giving me like, an applause.
Hemingway?
I'm still not recognizing it because I'm like, I got to get to the finish line before I can celebrate anything. I go across the finish line, dude, and I'm just like pumping my fists. I was so friggin' excited. I'm yelling, screaming in my helmet. It felt like a goddamn win, dude, especially with all the crap I had to deal with in the morning.
Absolutely.
I still can't believe it. I still can't believe.
Yeah, because you could have basically the weekend could have gone for you as a DNF, do not finish.
Well, from going
finish, right?
Exactly,
you could have gone from that to
it could be a DNS.
Yeah,
did not start.
That's
kind of where it seemed like it was going in the morning. But dude, I cannot believe how the morning went, and then how through the work that I put in, I got rewarded in that way with a friggin' third place on the podium.
Yeah, that was well
deserved.
Got
a trophy out of the day. And dude, if I had my own stuff, if I didn't have the problems I had in the morning, if I had fresh tires, I still didn't think I was going to get a podium that day.
Right.
I was like, there's no way. It's my first race in this class. There's no way it's going to happen. And then I have to go through all those circumstances in a very, less than optimal way and still pull off third. I was ecstatic, dude. I've won races that have not felt that good.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the ones where you just pull away and you never.
Yeah, where you just run by yourself in front for a little while. Those are never too exciting to. I mean,
yeah,
they are because you won, but
I don't know if I've ever had any of those, but sure.
I'm sure you had them in the rental stuff.
Yeah, but that was a really good day, and it was a fun day. Going.
Like I said, I'm glad you got out there, dude. I'm glad you finally raced.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun.
So now hopefully you can correct them going into race 2.
Yeah.
2 weeks from now, which I know it's questionable whether you're going to make it because of the whole, it's the holiday weekend. And you have...
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised that they put it on the holiday weekend, to be honest with you.
I'm not. It's on the Saturday. It doesn't seem like the worst thing if it's on the Saturday. If it's on Sunday or Memorial Day, that's. I'm
still trying to go. It's interesting also that it's already open. You can reserve a spot.
Yeah, you can register now.
But that's all right. We still
Pay attention, folks. You can go to NHKA.com or follow them on the Facebook page, and you can register for your race right now through bikereg.com, which has proven to work very good for them. You do have to do a $7 service fee for it. But the only alternative...
So wait, why can't you just pay, there? Why do you need... I mean, why do they...
I think it's COVID stuff right now.
Oh, okay.
It's just
so normally you can actually reserve a spot and pay the day of?
In the past, you could come and pay the day of, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a problem.
Skip the $7 surcharge fee, yeah.
It's only $7.
When it comes to racing... Look, I'm renting each time. Do you think I don't care? It's like racing is racing.
No,
Who
it's
cares?
like a $500 day every time.
iRacing, you pay $15 for a new car. So, what's $7? It's a coffee.
Yeah, it's an expensive coffee. Yeah, just don't go to Starbucks twice a week or something like that.
Sure. So
yeah,
that was
very great weekend. I'm glad you had a weekend.
that was a lot of fun. And we went out to where did we go? That was a great restaurant. I love that place.
Oh,
Like
the night
log
before.
cabin. Yeah.
I don't remember, dude.
We had the whole DRT was there.
was
and there was
there.
it was like a giant seating, and we were the only people in the place, but they were so nice.
Yeah.
The food was so good.
They were great. The food was nice. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, it really was. I'm a fan.
Yeah, so that's the summary.
It's worth the 3.5 hour drive.
It is. It's absolutely. I mean, you get to go racing, dude. That's what you get to do.
Well, one thing we didn't talk about was you forgot. What was the big thing I always said? Canaan's gonna be a shitty track. And the first thing I said after I ran it, I was like, that was awesome.
Good. I'm glad you changed
I was worried it was. I mean, listen, there's nothing that's gonna match X1 in my opinion.
Okay.
But it was whatever. It's an awesome track.
It is. I do like it.
And I actually like I've never done the full, but I think the half is perfect because you've got two straights that are long enough.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't see. Run me through really quick. What other than a longer straight? What is what kind of is the differences? Would you say it's more technical or less?
It's less technical.
Yeah,
it's way less technical because especially in World Formula, a lot of it is there's only two places you ever slow down. There's only turn 2, and then going into the chicane. If they're running it, sometimes they don't even run the chicane, and you just go right by it.
I do remember the chicane, but the chicane was like full speed pretty much anyway, wasn't it?
No, you gotta ease up for it a little
Yeah.
bit. I've gone through it full blast before, but it's really sketchy, and you end up hitting the curbs that are way too tall. It's not a good time. But yeah, the full course in a World Formula, it's a lot more of a mental game than it is a like skill based. It's skill based still, sure, but it's not as skill based as going through those tight corners and such in the infield.
Yeah, no, it's perfect the way it is. I hope they keep it that way. I mean, I don't know why they made the switch.
You should run the full course.
Well, yeah, but
you
then
get to do 70-something miles an hour.
Well, then I'm gonna have to have them. I'd have to change the gearing then, and then it's my head. I'm like, oh, what do I,
Well,
but no, yeah. So that's pretty cool. So what is a World Formula will top out at 70?
You'll do more than that. You probably do like cool. 75.
Wow.
So me and my road tax will be probably approaching 90 miles an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what are the shifters over 100, right?
Over 100 miles an hour. Yep.
Those guys are crazy.
Yeah, they're psycho.
Yeah, they're the true hooligans. Yeah, I'm sure it's a good time, but man, I forget who I was talking to about this, but like the two strokes are the perfect amount of added power. Like you're in that sweet spot right now where
it's great.
You haven't really commented it that much on, but I mean, is it like a lot more fun? I mean, or what do you get out of it?
So,
I mean, now that you've got one weekend under your belt
for me, yes, it is more fun because I did World Formula for 4.5 years,
right?
And I had a lot of success with it too. And I hate to sound like like I'm bragging or anything like that. I hate to sound.
It's okay. You can say it. You won a lot.
Yes, I did win a lot, but it was the part that's going to sound a little shitty is it was starting to get a little boring. If you get what I'm saying.
Sure.
I remember last year at the last race for the NHKA, we were doing a qualifying. I'm doing my hot lap, and I cross over to go down into the bowl. I look over onto the NASCAR track, and I see a NASCAR modified. And I'm like, huh. I didn't know you could do the modifieds for the Rusty Wallace drive. Dude, I'm doing my hot lap. And I'm looking over at the other track just being like, oh, look at that. I'm not even paying attention anymore. Where did I qualify? First. Where did I finish for the race that day? First. So it started getting to a point where I was so used to it. Wasn't even because I was finishing as well as I was. I'm just getting used to the speed of the cart to a point where now it's not as much of a rush for me anymore.
Yeah,
I'm
you traded in your 8, and now you're at a 9. Now you got a solid 9 under your.
A solid 9?
No, I'm talking about like never mind. As if you had a hot little girlfriend, you traded her in for a hotter one.
Okay, sure, we can go with that analogy.
I'm still shocked you sold that cart.
I tried to sell it to you first.
I know. Looking back on it, I really wish I bought it.
You should have.
I have your old suit. It would have been perfect.
Yeah, you just following my footsteps this whole time.
Hey, listen, that suit got me a win. That was rental carts, but nonetheless, that was the first time though I'd ever been in even a rental race.
Yep.
This goes like back 4 years ago. I don't even know, and I won the race.
Nice.
And it was in your suit.
Nice. Yeah, I have
pretty
some
cool.
good luck to myself. You imagine how well you would have done in my go-kart.
I know, right?
That won
shit.
3. I won 4 times last year out of 6 races that I did. So imagine how you would have done if you had my
know.
go-kart. But no.
Hey, but the one I'm driving right now is pretty sweet.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, the DRT
Maybe
guys know what they're doing when it comes to setting up a cart. So you're in good hands.
Yeah,
you're in good hands. This episode of the Formula Hooligan podcast is brought to you by Newport Propane.
Wait. Now, Alex, does anyone even use propane anymore?
Do you live under a rock, Charles?
Well, I know you can grill with it.
Uh-huh.
But can you cook on the stove with it?
Yes.
Heat the house with it?
Of course.
Warm up the pool?
Mm-hmm.
Fuel my flamethrower so I can melt snow with it?
All right, slow down, Charles.
Well, what about when the lights go
A
out?
propane generator will do you right.
Okay. So who would I talk to if I want propane in my house?
Newport Propane, of course. They've been family owned and operated for over 60 years now, so I'd say they know a thing or two about propane installation and delivery. Not to mention, they'll come out and give you a free estimate on any propane systems you're thinking about adding to your home.
Sounds good to me. How do I get in touch with them?
You can call them at 401-847-6878 or visit them online at newportpropane.com. That's 401-847-6878 or newportpropane.com. Newport Propane, proudly serving the Rhode Island area for over 60 years.
All right, so let's switch gears here.
Yes, there have been 2 Formula One races.
Yeah, and we had to actually, I don't know if I've got or something or what's going on, but yeah, Portugal, I was like, I don't remember. And I honestly, I don't think there's really a whole lot to say.
It was interesting for a little bit because there was basically the race starts. The start was pretty cool because I'm starting to have but I want to say Verstappen got the lead early and then Bottas got it back. I could be totally wrong about that. But regardless, Hamilton started 3rd, eventually worked his way up to passing his teammate fair and square for the lead, which is pretty cool.
Maybe that's why I like this race, because I think I made a comment to you saying, furthermore, how it proves Hamilton is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what I gathered from that.
It.
Right.
He absolutely keeps proving
And it's a
it.
sweet freaking track.
It's awesome. It's a great track. Yeah.
You know what's funny, though? When I'm watching it on TV, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of stands, like, for fans. I didn't see a lot of, obviously right now because of COVID, there wasn't anyone anyway, but I didn't really see much. I wonder where there would be probably, I guess, turn 1.
Front stretch,
coming down,
turn 1, turn
huge.
2.
But other than that,
yeah, I don't know.
I don't think there's much.
I don't pay attention enough. It is more racetrack and more
But that
land.
turn 1 is awesome.
Turn 1 is awesome.
Because it's so fast. There's a nice sausage curb there on the inside to keep you honest.
Yep.
And then leading up into that second turn 2, you're kind of on edge the whole time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you don't really want to track all the way out because you got the quick left-hander up the hill, gets light.
Yes. Yep.
It's a sweet track.
It is awesome. And they had the added DRS zone, which made things interesting, too.
Oh, so then wait, where was the – I don't remember. Where was the second one?
So you had the front stretch, and then you had turn 1, turn 2, 3 would be the left-hander. Once you crested over 3, there was a DRS zone there.
Oh, it was a short one.
And I didn't think it was going to be useful.
But it was. I think
there
that's
was a few times.
Didn't Lando make a pass there? Was it
Lando may have, yes, but the more notable pass was when Verstappen later on in the race passed Bottas for second place. And it was kind of interesting what Red Bull... See, it was a cool race for a little bit because maybe for 2/3 of it, the lead of the race wasn't guaranteed. There was still some strategy going on where potentially Red Bull could take the lead. It didn't work out that way. Mercedes had the better car, and they kept the lead. But they tried something pretty unusual where they kept Sergio Perez out for like 55 laps, thinking that once Hamilton, because he was in the lead with 55 laps, they were thinking once Hamilton got to him, it'd be hard to pass, so he could back him up so that Verstappen could
That was it. I do remember that. You're right.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a blue flag situation because
he's racing
he didn't pit and he was on the lead lap.
Right.
That was a good idea, but it didn't work out.
It didn't work out. No, Mercedes got around him real quick. And then once Hamilton got around Perez, that's when the lead of the race was like, all right, he's got it. This race is over.
And then they went in. Max tried to get fast lap and did. Pretty sure.
No, I think it was robbed by Bottas at the very end.
Because Bottas did the same thing, right?
Yeah.
By the way, isn't that amazing, though, how under pressure and they just succeed so well at that? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, we're going to throw some reds on there and you're going to set a hot lap. and they just go out and do it like so
well,
easily.
it's got to be easy enough to do when most guys are out there running 25 laps on a set of tires. That's not the softs.
That's true. It's not like qualifying where they're
right.
And that's right. In qualifying, you're usually going to try to set your fast lap on a medium tire.
In Q2. That's what they usually do. Although I've seen a few times.
But wait,
with the
whatever
Mercedes,
you finish Q3 in, you have to start the race on.
No.
Oh, they changed that?
No, they changed that rule like 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, well, that's okay.
They made it smart. So what it is now you start the race. If you make it into Q3, right? You start the race on the tires you qualified on in Q2.
Okay.
Which is pretty smart because now Q3 comes along and you can just go balls to the wall. It doesn't matter. You're not using that set of tires for the race. It used to be kind of lame because there would be teams. There would be teams who wouldn't even go out for Q3 because they were like, we'll probably qualify 9th and 10th anyway. So why waste a set of tires? We'll just start in a brand new, a more fresh set of tires tomorrow. That's how they would think.
Interesting, right?
But that kind of sucks because then there's 2 cars now out there qualifying and you want to see 10 cars go as fast as they can. So now they have the rule where the Q2 tire is what matters for the race start.
Gotcha.
That's why you see a lot of the top teams will go out in Q2 on medium tires, not the soft, because they're pretty confident that they'll at least make top 10 for the Q3, and they want to start on the medium tire rather than starting on the soft.
It seems like, though, the medium tire in a lot of circuits, it's the preferred tire.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of the drivers seem to feel that way.
Yep.
It seems like the red, it just doesn't.
Yep, and I remember for this race specifically, the Red Bulls were better on soft, at least throughout the weekend. And it seemed like they couldn't do shit on the mediums. However, Mercedes was much better on the mediums, and that's one of the reasons I think they excelled during the race and eventually took the lead and won another one. But yeah, it was an okay race. It wasn't my favorite race. There was a few notable things that happened. You had Kimi Räikkönen on like lap 2, just runs into his teammate because he was doing the same shit I was doing looking back. He's looking in his mirrors and just kind of like,
Yeah, no, it's funny. When you watch it initially, you're like, oh my God, how could it happen? What? And then you start putting yourself and realizing they're humans. And that's exactly it. He clearly, it wasn't like he was trying to do something. He pulled it Alex.
He's looking in he pulled a me. Yeah, exactly. He's just looking in his mirrors, and whichever mirror he was looking into, it just kind of pulled the wheel with it. And then.
I do that all the time. Gosh, it's
not
so
a good
bad.
thing.
No, what is it? It's so weird. Your Big Mac and fries fall off the seat, and you go like this, try to pick it up, and then you turn
you're
the
also
wheel with
steering
you.
with it. Yeah.
It's like, just hold it straight. They should make like a device that holds it in place. I think it's called a Tesla, actually, the autopilot. Right?
The autopilot, yeah, it's what they need in cars so that you don't do that shit.
But anyway, and then it's funny they move right to Barcelona, which is
it was a double.
one of my all-time favorite tracks. Really?
You like that one?
I
huh?
do. I love it.
I like driving it in the Sims as well.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I've never been to the tracks and been on them.
Right. It's got a really good flow to it. The problem with Formula One for the last few years is exactly that. They've been trying. Well, they really haven't been trying anything except for this year to improve overtaking.
What about why do they run the towards the end? They run that chicane, like the bus stop there. Why do they do that? I feel like you might get some more passing if they just. I don't know.
Just took that sweeper. Yeah, I don't know why. Well, all right. So one thing I
heard. Who takes the sweeper? Probably motorcycles.
MotoGP. Yeah, they take it. From what I've heard, I guess the sweeper is so close to the outside wall, relatively, that they're afraid that if Formula One cars whipping around there and then one of them screwed up, they would have a horrible accident into the outside wall. That's the fear.
But GPs, motorcycles, fine.
Motorcycles don't go nearly as fast as Formula One cars around corners, especially around corners.
But there's a gravel trap.
Yeah, gravel traps make cars flip.
That's true. You're right.
It's kind of good for bikes, I guess. Well, the reason we have
it's very good for bikes.
The reason
stops the guy from going into the wall.
Yeah, potentially. So the reason we have a lot of these parking lot tracks is because when it comes to a car losing control and going off track, asphalt is what's going to stop it better than anything else. Not a gravel trap, and obviously not grass. But if they just go out and they're still on asphalt, well, they can still try to recover the car, and it's even when they're sliding, they're not sliding nearly as fast as they would over grass or gravel. That's why a lot of these tracks are doing asphalt on the outside of the track instead of other elements. And they don't have that at Barcelona. And I honestly don't think they should have it anywhere. I think you should have real punishments for going off the track. But
yeah, either that or they need to start enforcing the rules. But this is going back a couple races. But I mean,
they're really funny this year with the track limits.
Speaking of track limits and stuff, not to get too off topic, but it's like I was watching. I don't know what series it was, but it was like front wheel drive GT class cars, not even GT3, over at COTA, and they literally are four wheels inside of the curbing. They're going just like GT4, I guess, are over the curbs, like not even remotely on the track. And I'm like, I mean, I get why they're doing it because they have full suspension. They're pretty much modified street cars.
If you can straighten out a corner.
But like, what about track limits? And especially at COTA where there's like, it's a big parking lot. So then why even go on the track? Just make it a straight goddamn line and call it a day. You know what I mean? Like I was watching, I couldn't deal with it. I could not, because they turned the chicanes into a straight line. It was just stupid.
I'll have to check that out. That's kind of
funny. It was the Fanatec series. It was like GT4. It was GT4 class cars.
Yep.
Which personally I hate. I hate driving them, and I hate watching them.
Oh, really? You don't like them?
No, they're understeer and they're slow.
Huh.
Understeery pigs, slow. Oh, they wallop and wallow along.
Yeah, I mean, they're not that far from the street versions.
That's what I mean, yeah.
They
actually had Rob's car out there, the M2 competition.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
That is pretty cool. It looked identical. Like you said, it's very similar, except
right. I think they slapped like a spoiler on it and put a cage in it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure tires and there's a little bit of suspension work going on, but I guess it's just up to the sanctioning body at the track what they decide to do. Did you see IndyCar like 2 years ago, what they did with the second to last corner?
No.
At COTA? You would hate it. They just made it so that you could track all the way out onto...
Oh, no. I do remember that. And we actually talked about that. It might have been why we initially thought about doing a podcast, by the way. Because we were,
one of the reasons.
We were arguing about that. And I remember you're like, let's do a podcast and we'll record it. Because 5 people... Wait, what happened to our tally? We've lost fans.
No, I don't think so. We have a decent amount of fans, dude.
Yeah, we have
at least people we know.
We've got some plans in the works. We're gonna constantly improve, especially with COVID. The mask mandate going away and stuff like that. We're gonna plan on getting guests both virtually and in person.
Yep.
We'll have some proper sponsorship going on and cool stuff. We have some cool ideas.
We do have some cool ideas. We'll get to those later. We should talk about Spain for a little bit because, in my opinion, it was the better race over Portugal. And
sure, yeah. Well, the beginning was great. It was fun watching Max.
Yes.
And
once again, Max bullies Lewis Hamilton out of a corner, which I still go like, but hey, whatever.
Nah, that's what you got to do.
It's the way Formula One works. Yep. And dude, I think Red Bull lost that race. It was entirely them.
Okay. So once again, we disagree. Go on.
All right. So here's why Red Bull lost that race. And I don't see how you couldn't agree with me, but here we go. So Verstappen had the lead from turn 1, right? And he never ran away. Lewis Hamilton was always about a second away. I think at one point he lost a little bit of time. He was like 3 seconds away. And then towards the end of the first tire run, Hamilton was coming back. It was kind of like the Mercedes preserved its tires better as opposed to Verstappen. I don't remember who pit first, but I remember when Verstappen came in for his pit stop, it was slow, right? It was like a 4-second stop.
Yeah, it was slow for them, yeah.
And then Mercedes had a regular pit stop with Hamilton.
Yeah, but they also, remember, Max pitted way early. Lewis stayed out an extra like 13 laps.
That's true.
And that's really was to set him up to gain the advantage to take the extra pit stop.
Yep.
But the reason I disagree with you, I'll let you finish.
Yes, let me finish.
Because you're just wrong.
No, I'm not. Listen to what I have to say. So, after the first round of pit stops, Verstappen retained the lead, right? And it was still Hamilton about a second back. So, he might have been a little bit farther back, but eventually he got within a second. So, now we're like 2/3 through the race. And Verstappen and Hamilton, their tires are relatively the same age. And Hamilton is, catching. And he had every right to try to, maybe try to get close, get DRS, and go for the lead and take it. But he didn't. Instead, he got within a second and then came into the pits with like 20 laps to go and took another fresh set of tires and now was responsible for making up the distance to Verstappen, which he did. Where Red Bull screwed up, Red Bull should have done the same thing. As soon as Hamilton came in, Verstappen should have come around and then also pitted. So that now we're back
To being even.
To being even. And when they were even, Hamilton couldn't get around. He never really tried too hard, but he still couldn't get around.
Okay, so then well, let me just make sure I understand your point and perspective. You're basically saying that Max had the pace if he had pitted the same amount of times in the same basic time period as Lewis.
Yes.
He had the pace to keep up with him.
He had the pace to at least hold back Hamilton. You know what I mean? Because it's so hard to pass there, except for turn one.
That is a good point. Yep.
Right. You can hold a guy back in Formula One because you ruin their aerodynamics as soon as they get too close. That's what they had to do.
Yeah,
and dude, the major thing that proves this point is that this race, the way that this ended up working out, happened exactly the same way in Hungary 2019. I don't know if you remember that race, but in Hungary, the exact same shit.
I heard him say that, but I didn't see it.
It was the exact same shit. It was like 20 laps to go. If Verstappen in the lead, Hamilton catching, Hamilton comes into the pits, and then in 20 laps from like 25 seconds back, caught up to Verstappen and took the lead. So we already had a race that proved that can happen. So why wouldn't
There's
Red
a
Bull?
history to it, you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So why wouldn't Red Bull act differently instead of being like, we'll try the same shit. Maybe they won't catch us this time. And then eventually they did and got around them just like in Hungary 2019. It drove me nuts. I was like, why? Why did you guys do that? Because as soon as Hamilton.
Okay,
obviously
hold on. Let's reverse the situation.
Okay.
Let's say Lewis and Mercedes did what Max did. I think Lewis still would have won on an old shitty set of tires in Max's position.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is it was winnable, but they didn't win. You know what I mean?
If Lewis was in that situation where Max came,
he would
in
have
and
managed the
pitted,
tires better. I think he just would have done enough.
And I think there's plenty of people
Right?
that say like, Red Bull has the car this year. I don't think so. I think
I agree with you. They don't.
Mercedes still has the car. So yeah, if you reverse the roles, I think at that point maybe.
So that's where I stand. That's why I just see Lewis as a foregone conclusion to winning the points for 2021.
I hope. Well, I like the guy enough. I want to see him break the record.
Yeah, speaking of that, we didn't even say that was his 100th pole start.
Yes, his 100th pole position.
It's pretty cool. I'd like to have that signed tire. That would go nice.
He's got like 97 wins, so he's almost 100 wins into his career. Nobody's even close to that. I think the closest person has got to be Schumacher, and it's like 60 or 70 something wins. So the dude is just miles ahead of everybody on the record
Yeah, but it's like the Patriots argument. Who's more responsible, the car and the team or him?
I mean, you got to have...
you already know how I feel. I feel it's Lewis, but...
You got to have the right guy. Lewis puts in so many performances that are so convincing that he is the guy. And think about it.
No, he is.
Valtteri's nowhere close to him, especially this year. Valtteri isn't doing shit this year. He got one pole position. Lucky him. And then he didn't even capitalize on it.
So if you put Bottas with on Red Bull, okay, instead of Perez,
okay,
do you think he would perform better, worse? Do you think he'd be up there with Max, or no? Do you think he'd fall way back?
I think he'd
pull a Gasly and just go.
No, I think he'd be doing about as well as Perez, because I still think he's got speed.
Oh, Perez has the potential. I think he's going to put it together. He will.
He's going to put it together eventually. We had Ricciardo in Spain finally put it together with the McLaren. He finished ahead of Lando, which is cool because the whole season Lando's been kicking his ass in the same car, which is really uncharacteristic because Daniel Ricciardo's been like the dominant guy wherever he goes. Even when he was with Verstappen.
He's been in Formula One for more than 10 years, though.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but he hasn't slowed down
yet. These old guys,
yet.
they're just not keeping
He's not old. He's like 32, 31, something like that.
But yeah, but compared to like Lando. Actually, you know what's funny? So Max has been in Formula One for 5 years.
I know. He's only 22.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It gets to be crazy. But, so yeah, then, all right, we kind of agree but disagree.
Yeah.
I just think Lewis still would have somehow won. But,
right. If the roles are adverse, I could see Lewis still pulling it off.
So what was the whole issue with the flappy wing?
Oh, yes. So this has been brought up recently where Mercedes was claiming or at least noticing something about the Red Bull rear wing, how it would flex at high speeds, like get lower down to the ground, basically making the car a little bit more slippery in when going fast.
Yeah, the wind pressing down, it would bend it and flex it.
Yes, and I have yet to show you the video, but there's a very good video. It's a side-by-side video, one looking at the rear of a Mercedes, one looking at the rear of Verstappen's car. And there's a grid on each video with a red line that shows where the rear wing is sitting. And you can see that the rear wing of the Red Bull moves down like a grid line or two in the high speed straights.
But I don't understand why that is even an issue. That's what racing is. The smarter team and engineers should have an advantage. I don't understand
right,
that.
But
it's not like
throughout the history of racing, dude, every time one of those advantages is found and the advantage is like blatantly better and blatantly, fishy, something like that's how rules get created. That's why if you would watch Formula One like 40, 50 years ago, a lot of the cars
they'd create the fan car. It's good for a year, then it's illegal, and then they move on to the next, right?
The fan car is a different situation, kind of, sort of.
Damn it.
It was the team itself that decided not to run the car anymore. But it was banned after one.
4 wheels, right? Wasn't
race.
that same situation?
There was the Tyrrell 6-wheel car.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yep. That ran for 2 seasons, and I'm not even sure that was banned. I think that was also a point where the team was like, it works, but it's not winning too many races. It only won 1 race in the 2 years, I believe. Yeah, but if you watch Formula One from 40, 50 years ago, every car looks way different from each other because they had, the sport is still newer. So all the rules hadn't been implemented yet from all the, creative engineering things that were created because they try to make things as level as possible to make the racing as even as possible. Now, Formula One is still, compared to other motorsports, fairly open because each team has to make their own car. And that's kind of the attraction of Formula One.
Right.
It's not like IndyCar.
It's supposed to be the best that you can create.
Right. And it's not like IndyCar where every car is the same and like maybe your suspension can be a little bit different. It's not like NASCAR where every car has to be exactly the same and they literally spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to find, a couple hundredths in a lap time because they can't work around the rules. There's so many rules that they can't really get too innovative. So even though Formula One seems to be like that as well right now, it still is the more open.
Sure.
Except for, like, if you look at, like, rally, not even rally, if you look at, like, the Baja 1000 or, like, some hill climb competitions and things like that, there's still unlimited classes.
What about GTE, GT3? I mean, they're all completely unique. Think about it. They got a different power
They're all
plant,
completely unique, but that's almost a different
animal. But the power
animal.
is, yeah, I mean, it's...
Well, it's a different animal because they have BOP, balance of performance. So where we touched about this in one episode recently where we were talking about how with F1 now, depending on where you are in the points, you get so much wind tunnel time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So BOP in sports cars is just, it's similar except they use ballast. It's something like, all right, because you did great last week's race, your cars have to add another 10 kilograms of balance or ballast or whatever it might be. I think they even do things with restrictor plates, kind of, sort of. Maybe not restrictor plates, but something to restrict the motors because, you were faster on the straights than any other car last week. So, and BOP sucks because BOP can be like, oh, yeah, you did crappy last week, so this week you have to do this. Or it could be, hey, you guys qualified really well, so for the race you have to add 5, kilograms of ballast. It sucks.
That's why you get sandbagging, yeah.
But you don't have that in Formula One. At least, I mean, you do have the wind tunnel stuff, like I said, but you still have...
So this flappy rear wing, though, didn't apparently help that much.
No, it's not winning them races, but... it's won them a race, but it's not... I think it's technically against the rules currently. There was some rule I was reading where, like, there's so many parts of the car that have to remain in the same position whether the car is still or at speed. And I think the rear wing falls under that umbrella.
Who noticed that?
Mercedes. I guess Hamilton noticed it following Max.
What?
Which is crazy to think because...
you watching the other cars go by at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. What is Lewis doing looking at the wing?
I mean, he had to follow him for a lot of laps. So eventually you might spot it. And it is crazy because when you watch it, I wouldn't have noticed it really happening unless that grid was put up on that video. So it is kind of nuts that he did spot it. But yeah, I think it's like I saw there was like a certain date they're going to crack down on it and be like, all right, because I guess it's other teams that are doing it too. And they're going to be like, no more. You can't do it no more. the wing has
It's
to
like
remain
track limits.
stationary.
You can do it. You
And,
can
like,
do it. All
I-
right, no more.
In kind of for your argument, I didn't think it was a problem either because if you watch any of the aerodynamic parts, they flex. You know what I mean?
Front in particular.
Yeah, the front wing you'll notice for sure just like dips way down when they're going above 200 miles per hour, and then when they hit the brakes, the wings come back up, and it's just the natural flex on the front wing.
Looks like
the
a fish,
downforce,
the gills.
Yeah, so I don't know. It does kind of suck. I hate when they take innovation away. But like you think about last year, Mercedes had DAS, the dual axis steering, where they could move the wheel in and out and adjust toe.
That was cool.
At will. And that was a funny one because that was discovered in testing, but they were like, hey, you can run it for this season, but next season it's banned. And they were like, okay. And
yeah, because then they're like, okay, we'll come up with a new cheat, a new hack.
you gotta. I mean, that's what
Well, that's why they pay these guys so much money, is
Right.
to come up with the hack for the year and perform, and then next year, do it all over again.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's
That's
is
what Formula
very
One
much
is.
what they do.
Well, that's what
It's-
motorsports really is.
Yeah, it's all motorsport. All
Or race by
athletics do.
race, yeah.
You still see guys in the MLB. They put pine tar in their gloves so they
Yeah,
can
they
get
do
the
all
ball,
sorts
the
of
ball
stuff.
dirty, and they can throw wicked curves and shit like that. It happens in every sport because you kind of have to have that advantage. You got to play with the gray areas and the rules to get that advantage.
I think I'm trying the wrong thing though. I keep juicing before the races, and it's like doesn't do anything. You know, I don't know. It's not helping.
I think that's
Putting on the weight. I thought maybe I need to take the protein shakes and everything.
Yep, no, I think that's actually perfectly legal. I don't know what juicing is going to help you out with. I guess you won't get as tired, but yeah, I don't think there's as far as guys that do it in our karting stuff in our club. I think we might even touch this on a previous episode. I don't know of anybody that does it, and it's kind of cool. You know, we have a very relaxed club as compared to some people that I know
Like in
about.
Europe, we're not killing each other.
Dude, not
over
even
it.
in Europe. So my buddy Kieran, who I was talking about, he lives in California. They do dirt carts. They look like the winged sprint cars, but they're carts. No suspension, but just with the huge wings.
Sick.
It is sick, yeah. And my buddy actually has a rule that was written because of one of his modifications. He put 3 tires on the rear axle. 2 where they go and 1 in the center. And there was no rule about that.
Why?
Because he wanted extra rear grip. And he said coming out of the corners, that thing was insane because he races him on dirt. So you got to have
How
that
do you
extra.
put a third wheel in the middle of the axle?
I don't know because I don't know of a
So
hub.
it's spinning wheel. It's not. It's free spinning, is what you're saying. I mean, it's
No,
not.
it's on the ground. It's on the ground actually launching the cart out of corners. It worked. And then it was like banned the next
But
race.
it's powered too, so it's literally.
Yeah, because the chain goes to the rear axle. The rear axle has all 3 wheels on it, and they all spin at the same time.
I'd like to see that. That's cool.
Yeah, I'll have to show you the picture. He sent it to me one time. He's actually one of the guys that wants to
Once
come
we
on
get
the
the
show.
TV up,
Yeah. We'll have to bring him on, and he can explain all about it better than I can. But
that sounds fun.
yeah, so like, yeah, he's doing that in races in California, and like I was saying, I don't. We have a very relaxed club when it comes to those things compared to others.
Yeah. It's,
Every once in a while, I hear about something happening in our club that gets protested, and then very, very rarely do we have situations that come up where guys actually get disqualified because they're running illegal stuff. I know there was actually a problem for the practice day before the race week that we had, where a lot of guys are running the World Formula or the 206s with unsealed motors. And, it's not a problem for practice day because nothing's up for grabs. There's no points. There's no scores. But that was a big deal. It was like, hey, look, you guys need to get your motors sealed.
inspected too.
Before. And, yeah, you have to get them inspected to have them sealed before you guys can race again. And I'm sure they all did because I didn't hear anything about that for this weekend. But, yeah, other than that, I don't really mean... I got to figure out what Ricardo Nunes is doing to his kart every weekend. He's basically the main guy in Tag Senior that I got to go up against this year. And he was just psycho.
And once you get yours, I think, sorted and you start qualifying better, you'll be
Yeah,
there.
maybe I'll have a shot at it. And maybe it'll be better at New Hampshire Motor Speedway as opposed to Canaan because he's got the Rock or the X30 motor that evidently is better at top speed. So maybe I would have something for him at the shorter tracks. But I mean, he's incredible. He's actually a guy that he might not even remember. But when I did my first pro league 10 years ago at X1 indoors, he was in the pro league with me. Now,
oh, no way.
because it was my first year, I was garbage, so I would run in the back. And then him and Jay Hanscom would always be racing for first and second. So, I was nothing to deal with. He would just pass me. Him and Jay would just pass by me and lap me all the time. But now it's kind of all come full circle 10 years later, and I'm back on the grid with him. I'm not finishing last place like I did when I first raced him, but
no shit.
He's still the guy. He'll race senior and masters. So he races 2 classes during the weekend, and he'll destroy and win in both of them. So he's the dude I got to think about. And maybe he's doing something, maybe he's not. I mean, he's been doing it for at least 10 years that I know of, and probably longer than that. So he's got the experience, and he's always been kicking ass. So it could be plain experience, and he's just that much smoother, that much better.
It's like you when you were in World Formula.
I don't know, maybe. But yeah, he's the main dude I have to think about. And I do have to wonder, if we can do anything to these motors, which I'm still not clear on yet, what's he doing? And I'm sure he's not going to, if he's going to be a tight competitor, he's not going to tell me what he's doing. And fair enough. If you want to be the guy that's winning, it's kind of how you have to treat it. But I don't know. I got to do some research and figure out.
That's the fun of it. That's why you started. That's why
you know what?
It's new journey.
It's a new journey. It's a new challenge. It's proving to be a challenge, even though I did have success with the first run. But now I do have to figure out these things, and I didn't have any problems with my motor this weekend, which means I didn't really learn anything about my motor other than it's fast. It seems to be good and fast. But I didn't change jets, which is something you have to do pretty often in the tag and in the tag classes. And I don't have any jets yet. I got to order them. It's kind of funny. You change the carburetor jets pretty often in a 2-stroke motor, yet they only come with 1 when you buy the motor. And there's a range of 10 of them that you can change out. So I got to figure out how to get the range.
Yeah, don't wait till race day for that one.
I know. I shouldn't have waited this long. It's a week later. But
so let's see. Let's hope you have your cart for the 28th, is it? Or
it's the 29th. And if
That's
my
a
cart
Saturday,
my cart is coming May 18th. Well, no. It's landing in New York May 18th, and then it's got to go through customs to get to us in Massachusetts. Almost thinking about going and picking it up from New York myself just to have it. But what I've done right now is that the cart I was racing last weekend is back at George's shop. And I told him the same thing. I'm like, look, when my cart comes in, you already have the cart that has my motor on it at your shop, and you can just quickly switch them around. So that's where I sit right now.
We still got a little bit of time.
Yes,
We shall
and
see.
what I would love to do, and I should have the opportunity if the cart does come in time, I should have the opportunity to go up to Club Motorsport and practice at their kart track the week prior.
Now, how are you going to do that? Isn't that someone said it was private club?
It is, but if you're a member, you can bring up to 5 people as
Gotcha.
guests. The people still have to pay, but you can still bring them.
Now, do you drive the cart on the road course, or is it
No,
karting
there's a
track?
little kart track
Oh,
there.
sick.
It's a pretty cool little kart track. I think it'd be kind of
It's
miserable.
even further away, though, than Canaan, right?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Tamworth, New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. It's such a big state.
I love it. I think it's beautiful, but you are right.
No,
it's
it is
huge.
beautiful. I've seen videos and photos. It looks great.
Yeah, the track is fun. It's a great little test track, but it's small and tight. I think it'd be miserable to try to race there. I think you couldn't pass anybody. It'd be really difficult. But
So it'd be like Monaco.
it'd be like Monaco.
Isn't that next up?
Yeah, it's the next race. It's not obviously it wasn't today.
Next week?
I think it's next weekend.
Okay.
I don't know.
Hopefully, because I was about to say, so the next podcast we do will be after Memorial Day, probably, and after Monaco. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot in between.
Well, if there is a race next Sunday, I think we should.
Oh, no, if there is, yeah.
We should do one to review that race. And then maybe if I do have my practice day at Tamworth, I can talk about that.
That'd be sick, yeah. And Max, if he gets out those razor blades, maybe he can take a win.
Well, Red Bull.
If you can get ahead there, I mean.
Red Bull historically has been very good.
That's where Max won last year, right? Wasn't it there?
No,
It's 2 years ago, shit.
He's never had a Monaco win. Daniel Ricciardo won at Monaco in 2018, the last year he was at Red Bull.
Yeah.
Because, he took pole position, which helps, a track that nobody can pass at. But
let's face it, that track is only there for
For tradition.
And just the people there. It's a money revenue thing. You know?
It's
cool. It's fun.
It's cool, and I think to drive it in the Sims and to watch Formula One cars whip around that track like they do, it's incredible to watch. There's a spectacle to it.
Right.
However, you can't watch cars race against each other because they're too wide these days, and they just...
Yeah, it's not a track for racing. It's just one big parade lap.
Yeah, people usually win that race in the strategy, especially if it rains. There's a few races it's rained there, and it gets real interesting.
Yeah.
But what was really interesting about Danny Rick's win is that he lost his ERS like halfway through the race and had to keep Hamilton behind. So the ERS is good for like 160 horsepower. So he's basically 160 horsepower down.
But that's the track to have it.
Yeah, because the track is so tight. He was able to keep the lead. I mean, Hamilton breathing down his neck the whole time, but he was able to keep the lead. I'll
have to go back and watch that one.
It's a decent one to watch.
2018?
2018. Yep, it was the year.
Before the Halos?
It was his last win. That's his last race win that he's ever had.
Jesus, yeah.
That's kind of crazy. Come back. I know. I want to see him come back with McLaren. I think, McLaren is kind of barking.
They're on the rise, yeah.
They're barking at the
but
podiums.
Ferrari is kind of barking back now, so it's going to be
They
tough.
are too. Yeah.
It'll be really interesting to see who gets third at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think McLaren is currently sitting there with Ferrari breathing down their necks.
I have it pulled
Aston
up. I'll
Martin,
just do a quick.
Aston Martin's absolutely nowhere compared to last year. Last year, they were the ones as Racing Point to get third place, and they're nowhere close now. It's unfortunate, especially having...
McLaren is barely ahead of Ferrari right now, yeah.
How many points?
5.
So what's the points tally right now? Mercedes up front, I would assume. Right?
Yeah, 141 to Red Bull's 112.
Ooh, okay, that's a decent gap. They basically have to have both Mercedes crash in order for
we already know what's
because mathematically, even though they could take the lead, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, we know what's going to happen. It's a foregone conclusion, but
almost.
Yeah.
I hope.
Hey, nothing's a given in racing, so
nothing's a given. No, even though I don't know, it's almost been a given for the last few years that Hamilton's going to win the championship.
It doesn't matter.
Everybody else is here for participation. Well. I think that's about everything
I
we
think
can
that's
talk
about it for this one.
week.
I think possibly, too, for the next one, we'll probably have some additions by then. I think that's...
Well,
especially the next one, if it's in between sort of, next NHKA race.
Yeah.
Maybe we can figure out getting a guest.
Yes. Yes, I'd like to try getting a guest. We have some ideas about maybe putting a monitor here with the webcam so that we can talk to the person who's on Skype. My homework for that is to figure out how to get I'm using Audacity to record the audio here. My homework is to figure out how to get Audacity to record our 2 mics, but also record the Skype conversation into Audacity at the same time. And even if it doesn't, I don't know if I could rob the audio from the Skype conversation elsewhere within the software. I don't know. But yeah, it would be nice to start doing that. We'll have to do a practice run maybe for 5 minutes before we can figure out how to.
You know what? We're all experts now from working from home. We'll get everybody on Microsoft Teams. God, I got a Teams meeting tomorrow. Kill me.
That's rough. All right, well, folks, this has been episode 4 of the Formula One Formula. Oh, it's late. All right, it's been episode 4 of the Formula Hooligan podcast that we sometimes talk about Formula One in. I'm Alex Gomes. You are
Charlie Jose.
And we'll check out you. I can't even talk.
I love it. I got him drunk on podcast number 4.
I'm not even drunk. I'm just screaming.
It's all good.
We'll talk to you in the next episode, folks.
See you at
later.
the track. Adios.